Hey everyone. A very common trend that we see in famous people is them suddenly disappearing, or at bare minimum, say that they just simply don't enjoy doing what made them popular in the first place. Most fans wouldn't understand where they're coming from, because in their mind, they have the perfect life they envision, so to just randomly drop it makes no sense. But when you hear about the story from some of them, you can see why they would be desperate to do anything else. I feel like most jobs have a small time frame, but when they're still enjoyable to do, so after a while, it can just boil down to extreme burnout. And to be fair, it's way better to leave that fame and go do a more regular job, because at least then, you're not sitting around doing nothing. Plus, you can't always rely on being famous forever. Fans will slowly, over time, lose interest. But I'm glad to say that with the people in this video, they found a pretty good alternative.
Whether it was from being a one-hit wonder and falling off, or just straight up deciding to leave the music industry, many musicians have stepped away from the fame and joined the workforce. So today we're going to be looking at—
I know it's not him, but that guy that was winking looked like Seth MacFarlane.
Vanilla Ice.
As a young kid coming down on me, more pressure than anybody could ever imagine, more pressure than anybody ever to make a song.
Vanilla Ice went from selling millions of albums and breaking records to flipping houses on TV. Vanilla Ice, as I'm sure many of us know—
What a weird transition. Also, he looks way more different than when he was younger. Like, he looks like his rock face is so weird to look at now.
Charts. There was also some—
Like, he's one of those people that, like, when he's young, his face looks good, but it is like, it is built to look worse when you get older.
Featured on his debut album Hooked from 1989. So he didn't have much of a foundation to build his extreme success on. He followed that up with the album To The Extreme, his debut studio album, and he also put Ice Ice Baby on that album as well to boost sales. Apart from his hit single, the album performed fairly well, securing 16 weeks at the top of the Billboard 200 and selling 15 million copies. This single and his album launched him into international stardom, and Vanilla Ice became a household name. But unfortunately, his success was very short-lived. He tried to follow up his smash hit album with his next—
Wait, you're telling me these two songs that I barely even know about were the only things that carried him to be successful? What?
Compared to his previous 15 million, this album only sold 42,000 copies. It was becoming much more apparent that Vanilla Ice was a one-hit wonder. Not only that, but he was struggling with drug addiction, lawsuits, and tons of controversies. People began to hate Vanilla Ice.
Sad, yeah.
So because of all this, he took a break from the music.
There's some say, but him being, if he got more popular, that would be like the one solution to all three of those issues. Maybe, of course, not drug addiction, but at least the other two, maybe.
Because he tried to switch to hard rock and it didn't work out so well. Vanilla Ice continued to release music, but it really wasn't working. So that's when he switched to real estate and home renovation. In 2009, Vanilla Ice began working on a reality TV show called The Vanilla Ice Project, which appeared on the DIY network. He was able to leverage his fame and
There could have been better name options. I can't think of any, but if you gave me a pen and paper in 5 minutes, I could come up with like 2 good names.
It started airing episodes in 2010, and the show actually ran until 2019 with a total of 9 seasons.
Oh my
The
God.
show was very successful, enough for Vanilla Ice to open his own real estate advice website. He did other acting things too, like getting a role in the movie That's My Boy, and also played Captain Hook in a theater production of Peter Pan. After his show
It's kind of nice, that's cute.
he came back in 2021.
I mean, if there's one person I would definitely take advice from, it is some washed up singer.
Released in 2022, but I cannot find it anywhere online, so I'm not sure it worked out too well. Regardless, Vanilla Ice seems to have successfully transitioned from music to home renovation and television.
And as soon as I finish this album and I go on tour, then I'm
I like this one. Vanilla Ice might have been a one-hit wonder, but these guys were like way worse. They really were like a time capsule of the 2010s.
They went from being one of the biggest EDM duos in the world with multiple hits to clinging on.
That's so steady. Like, there wasn't one huge they got bigger, but it wasn't like one dip in success or getting less well known.
They came into the music scene in the late 2000s and were very recognizable by their energetic and catchy tracks, which would eventually become club bangers. They did have a bit of an advantage though, since Red Foo is the son of Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records. They gained some solid—
No, he's some daddy's boy. He's taking his dad's success to make himself bigger.
rock. Then in 2011, they released the album Sorry for Party Rocking, which absolutely blew up. Songs like Party Rock Anthem, Champagne Showers, Sexy and I Know It, and Sorry for Party Rockin' were playing everywhere. They were topping charts.
You know what? Even though it is a pretty good advantage to be like a club banger, like he said, there is no better way to have it die out quicker, like in a few days, than being played at a club. People don't want to go to a club, listen to a song the entire night, wake up the next morning, hangover, and listen to that song on the radio. Like, people will hate it.
creating dances that everyone was doing. But unfortunately for them, their decline was about as rapid as their rise to fame was. As they were becoming international stars, in 2012 there was some tension within the duo. In an interview with the Australian Associated Press, Billboard reported that Red Foo expressed a desire to explore new directions. He made it sound like after working together for so long, they should go their separate ways and work on their individual careers. Red Foo said, "I feel like we've been doing this for so long. 5 or 6 years." And although they would later clarify in another interview that they weren't breaking up, their lack of music output made it clear that they weren't working together too often. Since releasing their major success album in 2011, they hadn't.
That cover sucks. That's so bad.
This can be explained in a statement made to Billboard in 2012 where they said they were going to take an indefinite hiatus. During their hiatus, Red Foo released a few singles and later released an album called Party Rock Mansion, which was a huge commercial failure and sold only 144 copies in Australia. He did have some success.
That's Australia. They probably don't care about music anyways.
Stars. The X Factor he was on mostly.
But I want.
Oh,
That's a f***ing bummer.
No.
To the fans at home, can we get a like for my power going out? It's a snowstorm going on, please.
I
don't.
hate that. God, poor guy. Guys, please put a like. That thing does suck when you're cold. To all my other content creator fans, hell yeah.
So it's even more embarrassing his album only sold 144 copies there. On the other hand, Sky Blue was releasing his own music and released 2 albums, Rebel Music and We Evolve Every Day. He also released an album called Chaos to Consciousness, but neither him or Red Foo saw any success at all in their solo careers. But we also get a little bit of insight behind the scenes of the group in interviews during their hiatus.
But the truth is that, you know, in LMFAO, my back was a huge problem, you know, because I hurt my back. I fell off stage. I was drunk one time, but before that, many times in football, I got hit in the back because I was a wide receiver. So I had 3 herniated discs, degenerative disc, and an out-of-place vertebrae in my neck. Still performing. During the Super Bowl, my disc slipped when I was performing. And so as soon as I went down that little elevator, I collapsed and I couldn't even watch the rest of the show or anything.
So you got kicked out the group because your back went out.
I mean, pretty, you know,
Good.
you know,
They should have had like some 7-foot tall wrestler break him over his knee. That would have really reinforced that they don't want him part of the band anymore. That really does suck because you can tell already that from that peak of their popularity, they only had 2 options: either stay together with no passion between the group and make music that they probably just hate and will slowly die out, or the other option that they did where they break off and try to make their own music, which even though probably was like the riskiest option with like very little sign of success, I would still respect that. There's nothing worse than having to be part of like a group of music, making stuff non-stop purely for money, where you barely care about it and you're like chained up to the group because of the contract and you can't really leave whenever you want. Which is why I feel like an asshole being like, oh, they could have done this if they wanted to like keep carrying the success as opposed to dying off like it did now. But of course, when you're in that moment, it's so hard to judge what's the right option and what's gonna have like the most success out of it. They're just gonna follow whatever feels right as opposed to like committing to a decision that you feel like you're gonna regret later down the line.
In 2016, Sky Blue made a Facebook post directed at Red Foo that really demonstrated the tension the group was having. He wrote an extremely long post detailing things like Red Foo's lawyer telling Sky Blue that Red Foo owned all of LMFAO's royalties, even though they had agreed on a 50-50 split. He said that Red Foo toured as LMFAO without him.
That would piss me off quite a bit. If you're a two-man group, there really is just no other option than 50-50. You can't really say, oh, I own all of it.
Fake, and took the LMFAO brand for himself while watering it down in the process. Following this, both Rick Ross and their former management sued LMFAO, further hurting the duo's chance of ever making a return. Since LMFAO broke up, apart from both...
Are they related? Because they both had like the same eyes and face. It's jarring.
Apparently he's always loved tennis since he was a kid, and he even went to a tennis camp in Sweden when he was 15. He's been training with a coach named Lester Cook, who used to be a professional player. He's hosted tournaments, he's coached players, and currently he has a 6-9 record in US Tennis Association matches. Most people look at my age and may look at the way I look, and it's easy to say he can never do it. Apparently, he even wrote a movie script about his tennis journey, so this seems to be a really big deal to him. He even played a point against Serena Williams in 2017, but he must not have been very good back then because he messed up his serve 3 times before actually getting it over. And while
that's sad.
a normal job,
You can tell he was pissed off because he did that angry dad pose with his hands on his hip.
I had a great time.
I mean, that actually sucks. I have to respect that. That's pretty bold to have like a huge shift in career after that last one failed at LMFAO. Too bad he didn't practice his serve enough, you know? Messed up 3 times. Come on, man.
Honestly,
Bruce Dickinson is best known as the lead singer of the legendary heavy metal band Iron Maiden, but he eventually left to become a pilot. Bruce joined Iron Maiden in 1981, and his vocals became one of the defining features of the band's sound. Him and the rest of the band were blowing up in the 80s with albums like The Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind. He released multiple albums with the band, and they saw a ton of success together. I'm sure most people are familiar with Iron Maiden and just how popular of a band they are. So because of this, Bruce never fell off, but instead he decided to leave Iron Maiden in 1993 to pursue a solo career. The reason he did this was because he was disappointed with the effort, as he felt the band needed a more dramatic stylistic departure from past records to remain relevant. Apparently he wanted the album Somewhere in Time to be more acoustic, but his ideas were rejected by the others in the band, so he ended up not having any writing credits on the album. Another member, Steve Harris, suggested that his writing material was rejected simply because it just wasn't good enough. Regardless, for multiple reasons, Bruce decided to leave Iron Maiden. His solo career was well received, and he was able to demonstrate some stylistic versatility. But of course, it's extremely hard to live up to the commercial success of the group Iron Maiden. So Bruce started exploring his other interests and
That's true, yeah. There probably were fans that were like, weren't you the guy from the... Yeah, I know, yeah, I quit.
And learning how to fly in Florida. He would actually fly...
That was pretty badass. He got the band logo on the plane.
Learning how to fly in
pretty
Florida.
nice.
He would actually fly Iron Maiden.
Was that even like a tour list of every city they went? Damn.
License. He became a full-fledged pilot, flying Boeing 757s as a captain for the airline Astraeus. Bruce even briefly became a marketing director for Astraeus in 2010 and would help release videos for the company, some of which he was even featured in. Bruce said, because...
Okay, that's a very clear sign. They climbed up the company hierarchy by just being well known. Do you really trust a man? Do you trust a man that was in a band to fly that kind of plane, really?
However, Astraeus actually went out of business, so Bruce started his own aircraft maintenance and pilot training company.
Oh, Cardiff in Wales.
Although it was later renamed to Cardiff. Some of the more important flights of his career included a group of British pilots from Afghanistan in 2008, 200 British citizens from Lebanon in 2006 during the Israel-Hezbollah conflict, and he also flew 180 stranded people on vacation out of Egypt after an airline decided to just stop all of their flights when they went out of business. Of course, he's done many other things throughout his life and career, as many famous musicians do, but his career as a pilot is very impressive. Oh, and he eventually rejoined Iron Maiden and kept flying the boys around on Ed Force One.
I'm gonna be going into my...
Oh, that's adorable. I really hope there's a story of him like singing famous songs on the intercom while on the plane. That would be badass. He's pretty lucky. Most people, like, that career is so like arduous and long. It's kind of like it's the ones that you have to focus at an early age to make sure that you can sort of like get a good job by the time you're grown up. But the fact that he was able to become a famous singer, retire from that, and then become a pilot as well, I mean, that definitely took a lot of effort. He probably used some of the money that he had to pay for the training, but even then, you still have to put in the hours, you know, to fly like that kind of like massive plane. If it was like a small, you know, dinky little biplane, whatever, it'd probably be easier. But like one of those like Boeing 747s, then yeah, that's pretty complex. You can't learn that in a day.
So kind of pouring my passion into that, as well as being a father.
Continuing on the construction trend, Kevin Jonas went from being a member of the famous group the Jonas Brothers to now working in the construction industry, starting his own home building company. So Kevin Jonas, along with his brothers Nick and Joe, blew up with their band the Jonas Brothers. They started in 2005 and quickly became huge among younger audiences. They famously appeared on Disney Channel in movies like Camp Rock 2, and also got their own series called Jonas. They even guest starred in shows like Hannah Montana, so they were all over Disney, which got them a ton of attention. They released their second album in 2007.
That would be. That's kind of clever. Because by the time that you retire, make up your building company, the kids that watch you were now inspired by you, and now they're gonna buy houses from you.
Wide, and even got nominated for a Grammy. But after seeing all of their success in the late 2000s and early 2010s, the group would announce a split in 2013. Apparently they were disbanding because they had creative differences and the bros wanted to pursue different things. Both Joe and Nick continued their careers in music.
I'm so dumb. I looked at those three guys and were like, they look so similar, what's going on? And then, yeah, they're brothers.
Kevin began working in reality TV and also started his own construction business called Jonas Werner. His reality TV show was called Married to Jonas, and showed fans some behind the scenes in his life, more specifically focusing on his marriage with Danielle Jonas. The show wasn't super successful though, and it only lasted 2 seasons. However, his company Jonas Werner Fine Custom Homes was seemingly a fairly successful company. Like the name suggests, he was running a company that would build high-end custom homes, do renovations, and also did revisions. I'm not sure how much hands-on work he actually did, but it did seem like he was fairly successful with this. Well,
yeah, probably didn't do much. When you make most of your money by being part of a band, I doubt you know how to make a house from the ground up.
Interesting job he worked following music. Kevin also worked on a couple of apps like Yude and the Blue Market Company, an influencer marketing company that was seemingly successful. And while Kevin had been working all of these jobs, him and his brothers had planned to reunite in 2019. They released some singles and then an album in 2019 called Happiness Begins. They also released an album last year that was appropriately titled The Album. While still reunited with his brothers,
So come on.
music, Kevin still
They came back after like
outside
10 years or whatever, and that's the best thing they had for a new one.
Kevin Jonas seems to enjoy doing a handful of things, although Jonas Werner seems to no longer be active.
I don't think there's anything crazy about making a career change after
Bill, who's Bill Berry?
It is a weird thing. It's
With a name like that, you deserve, and a monobrow, like even now I can see through the filter that he has a monobrow. With all of those combined, you don't deserve to have a big career.
Bill Berry rose to fame in the early 1980s as the drummer of R.E.M., a band that would become one of the most influential groups in alternative rock, but then decided to become a farmer. R.E.M. started in Athens, Georgia, just as a college band made up of a bunch of buds. But then they began to gain national attention with their unique sound as they combined punk, folk, and rock. Bill Berry was a huge component of the band as his drumming style helped contribute to their distinct sound. He also helped write the songs, would play other instruments on occasion, and also helped with background vocals. After releasing albums like Murmur and Reckoning, they were able to establish themselves as major artists in the alt-rock scene. R.E.M. saw commercial success with the album Document, which had the hit single The One I Love. They released 2 more albums.
The name R.E.M. does somewhat tinkle in my mind, so I might know it.
And iconic songs like Losing My Religion and Everybody Hurts, cementing their status as rock icons. However, things took a turn for the worse when in 1995, during a concert tour, Berry suffered a brain aneurysm on stage, which if you didn't know is life-threatening. He collapsed on stage saying, "It felt like a bowling ball hit me in the head." Bill was quickly taken to a hospital, had surgery to prevent another one from happening, and after his surgery he had to recover at the hospital for about a month. But after his recovery he said, "I found myself not wanting to go around the drums because I didn't want to find out there was something wrong. So I ended up testing my hands by playing some golf and everything was fine. I'm 100%. However, he did eventually...
It was very out of left field, but that is like the most terrifying thing you'd be hit by out of nowhere. So I'm pretty sure the odds of it being lethal and just killing you is way higher than the odds of you surviving like he did. So he got pretty lucky. Not lucky because he still got a brain aneurysm, but you know, it's good that he lived through it.
To leave, likely in part due to the aneurysm, but he mostly decided to retire from music because he didn't enjoy touring and playing all the time like he used to. Unlike Vanilla Ice or LMFAO, Bill Berry didn't fall off. Unlike Kevin Jonas, R.E.M. didn't break up. Bill decided to go live a simple life and began working on a farm. He retreated away from the public eye and pursued a simple life working on a hay farm in Georgia. This change really reflects how he probably felt.
There are men who will kill for that kind of life, just living in a simple farm with millions of dollars.
Apparently he used to do a lot of the heavy labor himself, but as he got older, he's been leaving that to others. He got interviewed in 2019.
Oh, what? Come on, old man.
On vacation, and he said, "I would never go on vacation. Vacation for me is right here. I spent enough time in airports and in vans and on buses. I kind of like sitting still for a while. Still haven't grown tired of that." He never entirely
I don't blame him. I hate traveling. I hate traveling by plane in general. I don't mind going by bus, but there's something about being in a plane for not that long, even like a short amount of time, just annoys me.
Music, playing a few instruments in his house, doing a few sporadic shows over the years, and participating in a couple of rare interviews. And actually, in the last couple of years, he decided to form a new group called The Bad Ends, who released their first album, The Power and the Glory.
I saw he said like The Bad Ends as in like the letter N. I was like, is that kind of like racially motivated?
So I had a little bit of experience. And after that, I felt that, wow, I can do this.
From selling millions of copies of her albums and winning Grammys to helping support women that are going through labor by becoming a doula, Erykah Badu has had a very interesting career transition. Erykah Badu, also known as the Queen of Neo Soul, is a famous singer who rose to success in the late 1990s thanks to her album Baduizm. She even won 2 Grammys thanks to that album. She had hit songs like On and Next Lifetime that were topping charts and making her a huge sensation. She continued releasing music and continued to see success, but as we have seen with a lot of artists, her popularity slightly began to wane. She never fell off or anything, as many of her albums were super successful commercially, but they just didn't go as crazy as the first one did. Over time, her musical output became less and less, and it seemed like she was focusing on other things. Erykah did and still does have a very strong and dedicated fan base, so she was able to do this. And what she chose to do was become a doula. A doula is, by definition, a woman, typically without formal obstetric training, who is employed to provide guidance and support to a pregnant woman during labor. So in 2001, Erykah's best friend friends called, with the husband
That's
saying,
probably one of the most stressful jobs. So to go from like that to one of those horrible jobs, and I have to respect that.
realized that since she already had kids, this is something that she could do for other women.
And after that, I felt that, wow, I can do this. You know, I can be the welcoming committee.
Yeah.
You know, for new spirits coming in. And that's when I decided to start studying for it. And I became a doula about 5 years ago. But since the birth of Ituela, Stickman, and Afia's son in 2001, in between that, I've assisted at least 40 births. Wow.
That interview clip is actually 8 years old, and since then I think she's helped participate in a handful of more deliveries. And of course, like everyone else,
That makes me feel awful, because I know full well that if I retire like one of these people and don't you go for like a humble job, I would just be way too much of a crybaby to accept the new change.
a bunch of other things related to her music career, and she never actually quit releasing music like a handful of the people on this list have, so I guess her being a doula is a bit more of a passion project. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like down below, and maybe even consider subscribing. Other than that though, this has been Matty Balls, and I'll see you guys next time.
Oh, damn. That is weird. Yeah, I guess you can do both, where like you have one kind of like normal job you do on the side, but you can still make music as well. That probably would be the best option, because then you're not getting really like burnt out on either jobs, and you still keep on making songs to like, you know, have money, but also like just feel refreshed by a job you either enjoy or feels like it makes your life kind of normal, so you relax a bit. To be honest, when I saw this video, I was expecting more like people who just were so washed up, they didn't really have any other future in the music career, that the best choice they had is to have like a normal job and try their best to like make money out of that. But I guess it is more realistic for people to just get tired of making stuff. They much rather have like a more tamer job that's way smaller and something easy, or something they've always enjoyed as a child, like that guy that started playing tennis, where even though he wasn't the best, a lot of people would envy that had that kind of freedom to still go back to what they enjoyed as a kid and do it a little bit more. Because no matter how much people like glamorize being big as like or famous, there will always be a chance that they would just, if they were in that position, they would just hate it so much they would basically want you to do anything else to just get rid of that or of attention that might cause them stress. But to be honest, I think the nicest job out of this video was the guy from R.E.M. who just, you know, had a farm. Like, he didn't even like become a pilot like the other guy from Iron Maiden. He just like chose a nice simple place to stay at and didn't want to like travel anywhere else. Like, that does sound very relaxing, not having to care about like where else you go, because your nice simple ranch is enough for you. You know, I like that. I respect that.